live from Walnut Hills, California. This is episode number 55 of the LuchaWorld Podcast. This is Vandal the Love Handle Drummond, and I'm here with Frito the Freak Esparza. No, wait a minute, I'm the Freak.
Yeah,
you're the Frito.
I'm Frito.
You're freewheeling Frito Freak.
We haven't done a podcast in a while, so.
It's been quite some time.
Actually, hasn't that... we did interviews in between.
It wasn't as long as the last hiatus we had.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it has been a while.
Yeah, we've done a lot of stuff since then.
I actually watched a couple of matches.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I've watched less wrestling since... But we've gone to a lot of live shows, so
we've gone to a lot of live shows. That was fun.
And CML's been really boring lately, so it's like
Except I did watch the Volador Jr. versus Caristico match.
Yeah.
In the Lucha Elite. That was really good.
Really good?
Volador Jr., man, he keeps going up in my book.
Yeah, I'm telling you, he's been really good this year. But like he said, he's good every year, so... when I told him, hey, do you think this is your best year? He's like, no, I've been pretty good every year. So it's like, you're very modest.
It was funny watching that. It was funny watching that match, though, because you could have had two wrestlers doing the identical moves, and they probably wouldn't have had the timing he has, the gestures to the crowd. Just the whole package of him is just so...
And Caristico's looked pretty good also since returning.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of had that little... Well, he looked good in AAA at certain points too, so it's like it wasn't...
Yes.
It's just, with him, it depends on the opponent. And it's going to be a really interesting test this Friday when he wrestles with... he's in that tag team final where he teams up with Cibernetico versus Mephisto and Mystico.
Oh,
so that's going to be that's going to be interesting because you got Cibernetico on his team, and you have Mystico on the other team. So it's like and then Mephisto has a habit of he's either really good or really just kind of there. So it's like that's going to be interesting. I might watch it. I don't know. I don't even know if I'm going to watch it because this week I might have something to do on Friday. So.
Oh my gosh, something to do on Friday night.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
So, I've been busy. Like I haven't watched a lot of we were talking about this when we went to the show that I haven't been watching a lot of the Monday Tuesday.
That's right.
Just, they're so boring. It's like, and there's other stuff going on. Better Call Saul, Gotham, all these other shows.
In fact, the two other matches I checked out were probably the only really good matches I've ever seen from Arena Puebla, and that was the 6-man that set up the Carbonario versus Máscara Dorada.
Yeah.
And then the match between the two of them,
and that was before it got bad.
Yeah.
It's been bad since then. The last two. Today, I think tonight it's going to. We're recording this on Monday. I think tonight might actually be pretty good because it has Ultima Girl versus Rush, but they give so much time to the opening match guys that it kind of cuts down on the main event.
Really
so it's like ends up
scale back.
Yeah, it's really like this. The lineups are really like. The main events are really short, so it's like, And then the Tuesday shows, oh man, they're just boring. Like,
but Tuesday shows have traditionally, for a long time now,
they were good. They were. I think when Cadena Tres started, I think it was the Tuesday shows that started with them. They were really good. So they had guys going all out.
Oh,
maybe, but then like the last couple of years, it's been hit or miss with those shows. Although those shows with the Gran Alternativa were really good. But the last couple of shows have been
It sounds like the most sensational news this week has
this week has been the last couple of weeks. If you're talking about what I think you're going to ask me about.
The whole Octagon situation.
Yeah, that's been going on since April 10th.
The sub-Octagon, the false Octagon, the real Octagon, who's the real Octagon.
Yeah, it goes back it goes back since he left AAA, so I think he left last summer, I think.
Yes, but these last particular weeks, it's really kind of hit the head.
Oh, yeah. So he shows up at an autograph signing of the new... Well, AAA unveiled a new Octagon Jr.
Mm-hmm.
It's a new one because they had one before. Callisto, who's in WWE, was the first Octagon Jr. If you remember that. I think it was, 3 years ago?
Sounds right.
Sounds about right. 2-3 years ago. So Octagon leaves AAA. AAA decides, they spend a few months, they finally debut Octagon Jr. It's Flamita under the mask. It's no secret. Everybody knows who it is. So Octagon gets very upset, and he uses Twitter, he uses social media to. Well, supposedly he has people that handle that. I don't know if it's him or him joking that he has people handling it. I'm guessing it's him because it's on all caps.
It's probably him and his imaginary friend type.
He's got these weird. He's just crazy. Well, he's drunk and stuff at the time, so he's just crazy. So he shows up at the autograph signing of Octagon Jr. It's at a restaurant owned by a promoter and the promotion Cara Lucha. Mm-hmm. Vidal has like a, I don't know if it's his restaurant, but it's under that promotion's name and stuff. And so he's doing an autograph signing. Octagon shows up with like a truck, like a group of people show up. It's him, his wife. His wife is holding like a baby. There's this other lady and these men around them. Supposedly he says it's just like some of them were friends. One of them was his bodyguard, but everybody said it's not true. He had bodyguards. Oh, so they show up. He starts yelling at Octagon Jr. about how he's a fraud, and he's like, "What do you have to say about yourself? What do you?" And Octagon Jr. saying he has no comment. This is a situation. This issue's between AAA and Octagon. So he's still just sitting there. Octagon reaches over and pulls off his mask, and Octagon Jr. Flamita leaves, and Octagon's yelling, and he's got somebody filming the whole scene and everything. Other people are filming it. He leaves with the mask, and like everybody, apparently one of the promoter was trying to like get the mask back from Octagon, but Octagon wouldn't give it back. So then the security guards got in his way, and so like if you look at the video, I think there was one video that shows like the guy putting his hand into his pocket. Oh, and so this one fan said, "Oh, everybody puts their hand in their pocket." It's like, dude, nobody puts their hand in their pocket if somebody's reaching at you and you put your hand in your pocket, that means you're doing something else.
Exactly,
you know, it's not. You're not gonna hand them a card or a stick of gum.
It's not the moment to get laid back and say, "Yeah, I'll put my hands in my pocket and just watch this guy's fight."
Yes, or you're not.
Watch
Yeah,
my
best
friend.
Yeah, so
you know.
So then Octagon leaves. You see this little baby and being walking out and carried off into this it's like a white truck, kind of like the OJ truck. So it's like it looks like this really crazy scene, and they all leave. So then the promoter was upset about it, and he said he was going to file a lawsuit. I'm guessing he didn't do anything about it, like for like doing that in front of a crowd and stuff, and stealing the mask too. Yes. And I thought it was funny if Octagon got arrested for stealing his own gimmick, because that's basically his gimmick. So everybody was half the people were upset about it. Mm-hmm. Other people weren't. The majority of people were upset about it, if you think about it. But then then Hijo del Santo decides to chime in, and he's like, "I'm here to support you. Unlike other people, when I went through my same situation, who didn't support me." So what does he do? He posts a picture of Tinieblas Jr. Hanging around with Axel. Axel is Santos' nephew.
Yes.
Who he's had a legal battle with over the years over the use of the Santo name.
Yeah.
He's the fucking grandson of Santo. Why can't he use that name? So then, I mean, what kind of... Well, I mean, I shouldn't say. We all have relatives that are kind of fucked up.
Oh, so. Yes.
So I can't goes. Yeah, I can't just say it's Santo. It's everybody has a relative.
A lot of people have relatives like that. Although in wrestling, I think the eccentricity vibe goes a little higher than
I think it's because we're in Lucha, especially in Lucha, you see so many families together at Lucha shows that you think they all get along, and then you find out there's one who's feuding with them or stuff like that. It's like, oh, I didn't know.
Oh, and there's some who do a pretty good job of putting on the happy face.
Yeah.
When necessary, and then going at each other behind the scenes.
Yeah, so that picture he posts, taking a shot at Tinieblas Jr. Tinieblas Jr. reacts, and he's like, "Hey, you shouldn't drag me into your mess, Santo, because guess whose event that was? It was Octagon's event. Guess who took the picture? Octagon took the fucking picture. So stop talking shit about me." So he stopped. But that was hilarious. That was like the other part. So then LA Park, I was like waiting. I was like, dude, somebody has to like tell LA Park, because he had the whole problem with AAA like years ago over the La Parka name.
Yes.
And although he was smart enough to figure out, hey, I'll just put LA Park, drop an A, put a couple of periods,
And things
there we go. Yeah,
things were
that he's still a star. So L.A. Park writes, "Hey, when I went through my situation and other guys went through their situation with AAA, Octagon never backed us up, never came out and backed us up in our situations. So why should we be backing him up?"
Yeah.
So it's like, fuck him, like.
Going to business for himself.
Yeah. So Octagon kind of kept but you still had those other guys who would be like, oh, because they need the booking, and Octagon's a name that's going to get booked.
Yes.
He's still, some people, there's a lot of the promoters, there's a lot of younger promoters who Octagon was the guy that they idolized, so they're going to book him. So that kept going. Octagon said very soon he was going to have news of his own. And that news happened about maybe a couple of days later, where he introduced Hijo del Octagon. His son. His quote unquote son. But he didn't use the quote or unquote. He actually said it was his son. So I'm using the quote unquote because as this goes on, as he's introducing his son, he also mentions he has twins. Two younger sons.
Los Hijos de Octagon.
So there were three. There was there were a few people who were confused because they thought it was just the twins, but he had actually mentioned that he had one son and he had twins. So there was three sons. So Dorian Roldan chimes in with I didn't even know I've known this guy for since the mid '90s. I never knew he had sons. so I'm
I have a very important question.
Yes.
What name are they going to give the baby they took along to the?
Yeah, that's the other one. I have no idea. That's what I'm curious about. Is that a son? Who was that? Was it a boy or a girl? That's what I'm kind of trying.
Is the baby's name been trademarked?
Baby Octagon. You go with that. It could work. I would start selling.
Why not?
Merch for kids.
And to make it clear, and I think you've said this when we brought Octagon up previously. AAA is essentially in the right.
Yeah.
They are the ones who hold the trademark to the game.
Yeah, they own the trademark in Mexico, so that's the other thing. So Octagon has actually gone to court or filled out the proper paperwork to get the trademark back, and he's been turned down for that. So what he's trying to do is he's trying to prove that he had been Octagon before he had been in AAA.
How bizarre.
Which, I mean, that's how you would work it. That's how you would work it. Like if you were that at another time and you owned the name at some point before that, or I'll use my website as an example. When I was dealing with Lucha Underground, if Lucha Underground had used the World Lucha name that they wanted to use, and if I said, hey, although I wouldn't have thought of it, World Lucha isn't Lucha World, so I don't really give a fuck.
Right.
So it's I don't understand why they would think I would make a big deal about it. So, but if I really wanted to, I could get an attorney and I could show them, hey, look, I have proof. I have the logo. I have the website. I have all this other stuff. I had this name before that, and that name kind of comes close to my name. And I guess they would actually have a legal battle or something. I don't know why the fuck. First of all, I wouldn't even think of doing that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so then. That's what Octagon's trying to do. He's trying to prove that he had the name before that. But here's the problem. Octagon claims he created the name. Well, there's people who think, from what I've always been told, Antonio Pena created the name Octagon.
Amazing.
And who had the trademark before AAA existed? Of the Octagon name.
Absolutely. Well, that's the thing is who has
Antonio Pena had the name.
Yes.
So it's Antonio Pena. So Super Lucha's Ernesto Campo was mentioning that he wrote an article on the history of the name, and he had actually found that Pena had trademarked the name since AAA started, and probably before that too. So
because before that he was actually I remember. I think it was Conan mentioning that he was coming up with all these gimmicks.
He had somebody else, yes, and he had somebody else who was going to be Octagon. That turned it. I think he might have turned it down. I think that's the one name. I can't remember if it was that name or there was another name that he came up with that was turned down. But I know that was one of the. He had other people who he had thought about as Octagon. So then, how is he going to prove? That's where I'm trying to figure out. How is he going to? Even if he proves that he was Octagon, there's still that whole. AAA has to. There has to be a history. There has to be enough paperwork even in Mexico. There has to be enough paperwork where it's going to be something that's going to be ongoing forever and ever and ever over that name. So it's I don't really understand what.
It's splendid.
I'm surprised.
The business side of wrestling is actually more exciting than the wrestling itself.
I made it. You know how you have now, like in different news. We talked about this last time that we need like a legal expert for Lucha Libre to tell us about all this trademarks and stuff like that. Just somebody who could like tell us what the guy could do. Like,
we should.
Like you have sports.
Well, we should hit up Ebony Blade Eric Anderson or Bob Barnett. Bob Barnett could probably actually tell you some of the do's and don'ts in Lucha specifically.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised. It would be an entertaining segment. That by either of those guys.
Yeah, because it's there's other stuff besides it that's going on with Lucha where it's like, isn't that like even with Lucha Underground, what happened with Lucha Underground when they were telling the MVP situation, the whole
that's right.
That's the other one.
Did we?
I have no idea if we talked about it.
I don't think we. Yeah,
we talked about it with a bunch of other people, but we didn't talk about it.
But essentially, MVP on his podcast gave some spoilers about some of the upcoming Lucha World episodes, if I remember right.
Lucha Underground.
I knew I couldn't get through a whole podcast of messing that up. Lucha Underground, but he gave some spoilers, and he pretty much said you're not going to give away any spoilers when you signed the contract.
Yeah. But see, I think with him, it's so obvious that he screwed up that it's like you don't need an attorney to tell you that.
Exactly. And it sounds like even he was cognizant of that and was saying, "Yeah, I messed up."
Yeah, but that, and I know when we met, we saw Little Cholo at that show. We could tell the story because he didn't say anything.
Yeah, he didn't say anything. We were just saying, "How are the tapings?" And he goes,
"No. What happened? He's getting ready to wrestle, and he's just walking back and forth in front of us that whole time. Mm-hmm. And you had actually waved to him to say hi, and he didn't. He totally just ignored you because I think he was in the zone. And then he finally stopped, and he's like, "Hey, how's it going?" He said hi to you. He said hi to me, and I look at him and I go, "Did you wrestle earlier?" And he's like, "Yeah." I go, I know where you wrestled, but so don't tell us anything about what went on earlier today.
That's right.
And then he's like, "Oh no, don't worry, I won't tell you. And we just started laughing about it because I knew there were tapings because they've been doing tapings. It's obvious they do the tapings that when they schedule them at a certain time, they do I think it's 4 weeks or 6 weeks worth of the weekends here in LA.
Yes, and in this area it's pretty evident on all the message boards and everything.
And then we also knew because Dr. Wagner Jr. Was replacing Cibernetico for that show.
Yes.
And Dr. Wagner Jr. was scheduled. We had heard earlier that he was arriving late because of the. He was arriving late because of the tapings.
Yes.
Oh, and this was actually funny because the guy said that they were expecting the stars to arrive. Little Cholo and Dr. Wagner Jr. were the stars of the show, and I was like, "Man, Mascara Dorada's back there." Oh my God! I told the security guard, "Mascara Dorada's back there." I mean, he's actually probably a little bit higher than. He is, yeah. He's up there with Dr. Wagner. He's not up there with Dr. Wagner Jr., but he's sort of ahead of Little Cholo. So.
He definitely is.
Yeah, Oriental kind of is too. So.
Yeah. That's not a knock on Little Cholo. These guys have a little more international notoriety.
Yeah, but I just thought it was funny that little interaction, and then he got asked why we were saying that by somebody else, and he said, "Oh, it was a whole thing with MVP that he said some stuff, and he got in trouble." But we didn't say anything else. We all just stayed quiet afterwards.
I don't want anybody losing their job.
I think Mascara Dorada came out after that, and we just went and talked to him afterwards. He stopped us from saying more. Yeah. So then, Octagon introduced Hijo del Octagon. He had the twins with him. Right after he introduced them, there was somebody on Facebook who's very reliable. All I have to say is he's a photographer. Okay. And those who know already know who it is. I don't need to name names. I'm not going to get him in trouble or anything. And he said, "Hey, isn't that the guy? Isn't that the guy that..." He kind of insinuated, isn't he that guy? Just saying that. That's all he said. And then everybody's like, "Yeah, I think it is that guy." He's like, "Oh, man, come on." But that's all he said. He didn't say who it was, but he insinuated he had already seen him wrestle elsewhere. Oh. So that was the insinuation that the Hijo del Octagon was an indie luchador. So afterwards, it was kind of reported that he might be indie luchador out of Mexico named Marabunta Jr. Although Octagon claims it's not. But I think it kind of, the similarities are up there. So I think we're going to start tracking his the who's where and who's what doing what.
This will be
yeah.
I look forward to the next couple of weeks.
So then Super Luchas wrote a story about it how the twins were raised here in California in the United States, and that Octagon, they're the sons of a luchadora that Octagon had an affair with, and he had not had any interaction with them whatsoever over several years. So then like suddenly yes, now he's got.
This sounds like a novella. We should.
I'm telling you, I wrote that. I said I should write the.
Let's call El Rey Network and tell them you got the wrong series going.
I'll do the Octagon the movie, and they could show it before like they could show them in between the Dolph Lundgren films or whatever, or the martial arts films.
A little Steven Seagal.
Yeah, like throw it in there. So that's actually been like the big story in Mexico right now. You just have a lot of people who are just like really upset at Octagon. Others are upset at AAA for doing that. It's just a mess. Poor Flamita is like caught in the middle, and it's funny because a lot of people were like Octagon was like, well, he should know what he's doing. It's a fraud and all this stuff. And it's like he's worked with people in AAA who were regimmicked under that name. Psychosis. He worked with Psychosis. He worked with La Parca. He worked with Hysteria. He worked with Mascara Sagrada, the second version. He worked with all these Pentagon. He worked with the Pentagon who replaced the one that almost died, and then he worked with Pentagon Jr.
And not once did he cry fraud on.
Yeah, he never said fraud for those guys, but now that he's not with AAA, he's calling fraud on Flamita. So it's like this whole.
Well, maybe we should just double check to make sure that WWE did not trademark Lex Luger's narcissist character, because it sounds like Octagon should be repackaged as the narcissist.
Well, what I want to know is why AAA hasn't filed a lawsuit with over the merchandise that Octagon's selling. I mean, I'm guessing they just don't want to deal with it. They own the name. There wouldn't
be much there.
Yeah, and I'm thinking they would probably counter it if he took them to court. Yes. I would think that's what they would do. But I mean, I'm guessing that's what supposedly they're attorneys. The Roldan family's attorneys. Which in Mexico, there's a lot of licenciados. So
maybe they know which battles to pick.
There's a lot of people in Mexico who use the term licenciado that aren't really licenciados.
Licenciados?
Attorneys.
Okay.
Yeah. Lawyers.
I thought it was abogado.
Abogado, yeah. Licenciado, abogado is the same thing.
Oh, okay.
Attorney, lawyer.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Was it good? And since we last talked,
the Conan update.
Both Conan update and the whole AAA situation. Last time we talked, there were people kind of scattering away from AAA.
So a lot of the guys that were like with Cage was using Elite to like possibly go work for Elite to get a payday in Mexico. He couldn't because of Lucha Underground. And then Hijo del Fantasma, who was trying to get WWE, he's also can't because of Lucha Underground. They're all kind of finally getting back into dealing with... Cage returned to AAA, so he reached an agreement with them. And I guess Hijo del Fantasma also did too. Goya Kong, it was funny. Remember when they said that she had actually left AAA?
Yes.
But what was revealed was that she was pregnant.
She's going to be Mama Kong.
Yeah. So what I'm thinking happened with Goya Kong was, I think somebody, and this happens a lot with a lot of people who report about Lucha, somebody, or you just insinuate, like she might have been asked, hey, are you going to be wrestling in AAA? And she might have said, hey, no, I can't right now. Or I'm not right now.
And so
she's not in AAA anymore. So it's like, instead of thinking, because maybe she didn't want to reveal that she was pregnant, you know?
Yes.
That's something that's a private matter.
They just elaborated on it without thinking that there might be
something, a different, So then she said that she hadn't left, that she can't wrestle because she's pregnant. So there's somebody wrote like this rude, like this slightly rude tweet to me, and I think they deleted it. And I'm like, dude, don't delete that stuff. You just leave it. it's like I'm okay with it. Something about Goya Khan is like, dude, that's cool.
Just something crude.
Yeah. No, I just thought it was.
That's why I think long and hard before I put something on.
Yeah, and I think he probably thought this is a bad tweet, and I was like, but I'm like, dude, you send me a tweet. I usually check Twitter like at least every couple of hours if I'm home. I'll check it every so often. And unless you're really fast at deleting it, and plus they send you emails too. Like they send you an email or your text. They'll send you a text.
Yes.
So that thing shows up, even if you delete it, that person still sees it.
Oh yeah.
So it's like
fingerprints don't go away on Twitter and Facebook.
Yeah, because they show up on your email or stuff like that.
And if somebody sees it and it raises their eyebrow, they can screen save it and
yeah. So it's like don't write that stuff. It's like don't do that. Think before you if you're somebody who doesn't want to get that reputation, think before you tweet.
Yes.
So yeah, those people are back. Conan is still gone, so he's going on he has a new Facebook page. I think it's Conan 5150 on Facebook.
Oh, I haven't seen that. I'll have to check.
I don't know if it's Conan. I don't know if it's, but just look up Conan. It's and he posts videos on there, and it's really interesting. He's talking about the Octagon situation, and how he's telling wrestlers, young wrestlers getting into the business, if they have a name, trademark it. Do whatever you have to protect your name. And it's not that, I don't think it's that expensive to do that sort of thing. It's just paperwork and stuff like that. But it's you don't really think about that stuff. But I think it's more of an issue if you go to the promotion and they decide, hey, I want to use your name.
Yeah, that would be an issue.
And then because I think that's the thing with Flamita. If he doesn't want to be Octagon, if he leaves AAA, he still has the name Flamita. He could still use that as an independent. So he still keeps it. But and even Dr. Wagner Jr. went through that with AAA, remember? And he's had the name before AAA existed,
which is fascinating.
Yeah, they trademarked it. Cibernetico's going through that with because they trademarked it in the United States.
Well, and
that's why he wasn't allowed to wrestle here.
Although I'm assuming it probably wasn't as rampant as it is now. There were certain things that were, trademarked way back in the day. I heard Mil Moscas was trademarked right around the time he started.
Really? Wow.
I don't know if that's true. But
well, probably the guy who created
I think it's Valente Perez.
Yeah, and publishing, that you got to go through all that stuff to publish.
He was one of those guys whose character was kind of formed for him.
Yeah, I'm guessing people who do comics and stuff like that, they know what they got to do all that stuff. So
absolutely.
I think they're more familiar with that law.
And I remember hearing years ago about lawsuits with Santos family and people doing bootleg merchandise.
Yeah,
it is funny because I remember when Lucha was getting really big here, you'd occasionally see bootleg Santos shirts and.
Hey, we bought one, didn't we?
I think we did. Yes. But people would say, "Oh, what are they going to do? It's in another country." And I'm saying, "Well, some people are a little more."
Yeah, there's certain guys. Yeah. Mil Moscas is one.
Yes, absolutely.
I think everybody else is kind of a little less interested in that stuff.
Well, it probably has to be worth the
it has to be worth, because I mean,
are you going to sue a t-shirt vendor who sold $50
yeah,
worth
it's
of
like,
shirts?
are you going to sue that guy? You probably just tell him to stop, and they'll stop. That's more likely what would happen. So that's kind of with Conan, I mean, he said he has a couple of projects, but he hasn't really said anything, so who knows. He's also out of Lucha Underground, I'm guessing, because he was in the Lucha Underground. Did you already watch this past week's Lucha Underground?
No, I have not.
I don't want to spoil it.
Well, you don't want to upset Lucha Underground.
Well, it's this past week. So Lucha Underground wouldn't get upset. But
they still might not hire you because you told something that already happened that somebody already saw, but I didn't see.
Yeah,
if somebody saw it, but I didn't see it, then I'd know what happened. They say you spoiled it.
I would probably, if I worked for them, I'd probably end up getting fired within a week, just because of some shit that they would tell me I couldn't do, and I'd be like, well, fuck you, I'm leaving.
Well, it sounds like if you...
Dude, one day at the interviews, when we were doing interviews, I was already kind of annoyed with the lady telling me I could only ask 2 questions. Like, dude, what the fuck are we doing here if it's so 2 questions?
Goofy. I remember how they freaked out when I was about to get a picture with Pimpin' Nate.
Yes, and I even got upset about that. I was like, dude, why are these...
Yeah, it's just like... ease up.
It was annoying. I would have been like, gone. So what was I saying about Conan?
You're talking about his current projects?
Yeah, well, I don't know what his projects are. He hasn't said anything. He's doing his podcast. He's back doing his podcast, but he has not mentioned a single thing about Lucha Underground, and he's been kind of quiet. He's only taken shots at AAA on Twitter and on his Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he might have not said anything on Facebook, but on Twitter he has. He did because this promoter out of San Diego, FCW, booked Pentagon Jr. for a show for this upcoming weekend, and AAA pulled Pentagon Jr. off that show. Mm-hmm. So then So then they got upset about it because they didn't give them a reason why or anything. But this upcoming weekend is kids. They celebrate Kids Day in Mexico. So there's like hundreds of shows on the weekend. So Pentagon Jr. is booked like in 4 different shows that week or something like that. Lord. I think it's like that weekend. It's weird. So Conan got upset because he had basically been booked since we got the poster like in mid-March, so he's probably been booked for at least 2 months. It's
been hyped for a while.
Yeah, so it's been hyped for a while. So then Dorian Roldan responded, well, he's got to book his talent through the AAA office. So what I'm guessing happened was he might have been booked previously through Conan and people who were working with AAA back then. And now that they're not accepting that deal.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so the guy writes, they told me not to make a big deal about it or not to make an public outrage or anything. And he did it anyway. It's like, dude, you're obviously not going to... I'm sure it's going to get settled because, I mean, money always settles stuff. So
yep, this is true.
Yeah, so that's that. I don't really know what's going on with Conan as far as that. AAA also brought in... the one thing about Conan that I will say, LA Park, very opinionated lately. He writes on... I don't know if he wrote it on Twitter or he said it in an interview. Oh, he said it. I think he might have said it in a video that he posted, and then he wrote it on Twitter that he was glad to see that AAA had cleaned house out of the bad people in the promotion.
Really?
And he kind of insinuated
that Conan was one of those bad people. Wow.
Last week, LA Park worked a show that featured AAA talent on a Monday in Nuevo Laredo, and on Wednesday he worked the Elite show featuring CML talent.
Oh my gosh.
So I don't know what's going on with him. I mean, yeah, and Dorian Roldan keeps asking if LA Park is fully committed with
interesting
with Elite. So it's like with CMLL, but it's Elite. He's not involved with CMLL.
Sounds like he's still kind of the hippie vagabond he alluded to a few years ago when he left AAA.
Yeah, but I don't think he's going to go back because, like he said, he's not going to sign a contract with anybody. So it's like
because wasn't that kind of his statement? I mean, I love the fact that he outright said, "I'm a hippie."
Yeah,
and sounds like he kind of likes just kind of doing the hippie thing.
Because he said last time he signed a contract, his name was taken. So he's like, I don't want to do it again. Plus, but I'm guessing I think he's just gonna, as long wherever the money's at, he'll be at.
Yes.
And that's what he said about like Dr. Wagner Jr. because Dr. Wagner Jr. is back doing the reality series that he did in Mexico. It's like a Survivor type of show. Mm-hmm. And somebody was upset that some fans said, "Oh, I can't believe he's going to do that. He's not going to be at this show." And LA Park's like, "Well, you can't get mad at him. He's going where the money's at." It's like
that's the name of the business.
Yeah. So AAA brought in Pagano and La Familia de Tijuana. Mm-hmm. Who are now La Familia Fronteriza, the Frontier.
Yes.
TJ and Juarez are the Frontier. Mm-hmm. So it's Pagano, Damien 666, Halloween, and Nicho, El Millonario, formerly Psychosis. And that's a group, and they're feuding with Perros del Mal, Pentagon Jr., and all those guys. And everybody's like, why are they wasting Pentagon Jr. with these guys? It's like, it's AAA. Because everybody doesn't understand, like, they see Pentagon Jr., like, how badass he is in Lucha Underground, and they go, "Oh, Lucha!" He's finally like he's borderline. He may not be like the main guy, but he's one of the main guys in Lucha Underground. And then they see the lineups for AAA, and he's not really in the main event. He's always like he's been in main events, like in tag matches and trios matches, but he's not like the singles main event guy. So it's like people are like, "Why is he?" It's like,
dude, that is bizarre.
Yeah. So CML has run a lot of tournaments.
And we love tournaments.
I hope you're enjoying all those tournaments.
Oh, I enjoyed that one match between Caristico and Volador was technically a tournament.
That is tournament too. I wrote that too in the format. I go Elite running tournaments too.
Just the way they put each other over in that. So when
you skipped the Cibernetico singles match.
Yes, I did. In fact,
I know he's had a lot of singles matches. Like, why are you guys doing this?
In fact, the aforementioned match is the only tournament match I've seen so far. But yeah, he put Mystica's or Caristico's Mystica armbar. But I mean, he put him over big in that match.
Yeah.
It looked really cool. And then it was a good, like, I think it was almost 20 minutes, if I remember.
Yeah, it was.
It one fall match, really solid. Really
I like that show. Like, I've seen a couple of the episodes.
Azteca one?
The Azteca, the Elite Azteca show. The CML show, like the 1 hour show that they do here, I mean, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but there's a lot of editing. But the Azteca show is actually, I enjoy it.
On that Azteca
because they have two singles matches and then the trios match. Perfect.
Yeah. And, you know...
The only thing I hate about it is the announcers. The announcers, I don't like Shocker's announcer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why they don't just have Puma or Tiger doing the announcing on that show too. If they're not going to have them wrestle on these shows, have them, although they do wrestle on those shows, but... I mean, that's obvious. Those two guys are actually...
That's why, then.
Those are the two... Yeah, that's true, because Shocker's the one that's not wrestling. But Shocker's not a good announcer.
Not a good announcer.
And
I usually, my complaint with Lucha on TV is usually the camera work.
Uh-huh.
And it's much better on this show than most Lucha camera work there is. There's a lot less audience shots,
I got to tell you this story because I was laughing because I was telling my mom about... I think there was a podcast, a wrestling podcast that I had to link to or something. And I was telling her something about the podcast. It said something about, it was something, they were saying something about it. I don't know if it was wrestling. And she's like, isn't that the guy that hates you? And I was like, podcaster that hates me? And she's like, yeah, isn't that the podcaster that says that you hate him? And I go, no, what podcaster hates me? And she's like, you told me there was a podcaster that hates you. I go, no. I go, oh no, that's not a podcast. That's actually the CML Informer show. The guy that hosts that show, he says I hate him. And she's like, who's that? I go, you remember the CML show on Galavision? And she's like, yeah, the lead announcer. She's like, that's the guy who thinks you hate him? And I go, yes, that's like. And she's like, how the fuck so her whole thing is like, how the fuck does that guy know you? And I'm like, it's the internet. It's a small world now. The internet. I was just laughing because I was like, I'm surprised she remember like that stuff. It's like because I showed her the video of Marco Corleone giving us a shout,
giving you props and also giving Rob Vieper
and Lucha Blog. Yeah. And then she's like, oh, that's the guy. I go, yes, that's the dude. He used to. And she's like, wow, I didn't realize you were that known. I was like, I didn't know I was that known either. But I was just laughing. Back to that. He would have been better as an announcer on the Azteca show. So just because he thinks I hate him, I actually think he would have been a better announcer on that show because that shows their weakness is the announcing.
Really?
And that segment with the Japanese lady, Señorita Cometa. Did you grasp that she's actually talking to people in Japanese?
To be honest, I didn't watch when she was interviewing. I just fast forwarded through it, so I mean, I have no way of knowing.
Well, I watched the first few, and it's like
I remember seeing an interview when I was 18 of Tom Ernesto playing a rib on a Chick Donovan, where he starts interviewing him in English, and mid sentence just turns to Spanish, and Chick Donovan just had this like deer in the headlights look like he didn't know what to say.
And that's fine. That's fine.
That was a rib.
And once it's fine. Once you do the joke one time, after that it gets old.
Absolutely.
So she did this thing, and the first person's like, "What? I don't understand." The person's like, "I don't understand." Looking at the camera at the cameraman and going, "I don't understand what she's saying." And so it's funny the first time. She keeps doing it over and over and over. It's like, okay, now it looks really stupid because she's asking them questions, and the person's like, I don't know what the fuck she's saying. I don't know what she's saying.
What's the story about her? Who is she?
I think she does another Azteca show. Mm-hmm. And I think the Azteca people think she's funny, so they're using her. And once, how it is in wrestling, if you think somebody's funny, you're going to use that person and that group. Like Lucha Underground with the intergender thing.
Tell the same joke over and over again because you think it's hysterical.
Yeah, so it's
the equivalent of Vince McMahon still thinking the name Lipschitz is hysterical.
Yeah, so it's like there's certain things that a promoter's going to think, or TV people are going to think is funny, and you have to suffer through it for the rest of your life. So, but the matches have been, I like some of the matches, they're going to be good. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure the Moscow versus Atlantis probably wasn't that good. I'm not a big. I saw La Máscara versus Angel de Oro. I saw their match. La Máscara won the CML light heavyweight title. Mm-hmm. It was an okay match, But that show had it was stacked. Like the entire card was stacked, and like that was like the one match that you said was okay. And it's like, shouldn't that have been like the best match?
Yes.
And it wasn't, because they were, for La Mascara is very limited, and then Ángel de Oro is limited. So it's like, yeah, how bad? How much? I wonder how much the Ingobernables merchandise has been hurt by having La Mascara and Pierrot as the two members.
Yeah, talk about two people who stick out like a sore foot.
And La Mascara
and an otherwise great team.
Now it's just Rush, but it's like,
yes,
with La Sombra and Rush, it's like, you got La Mascara, it's passable. And La Mascara is liked by women, so it's like, that's kind of, and he comes from
I guess that helps.
But like Pierrot, I'm waiting for them to do the Ingobernables Pierrot shirt.
Oh, he's the one who I just can't take.
And seeing
you know me, I'm patient. It takes a lot. It takes a Thunder for me to get fed up and just.
That's the other great thing. Thunder. You get rid of Thunder, and then they elevate Pierrot into the Ingobernables, and then Cibernetti goes down the promotion. Like, oh, when are they going to have like a solid promotion?
Yes.
Like, there's always somebody that shows up that kind of screws it up for everyone. Yeah. So, Lucha Underground. What's the last show you watched? You haven't seen anything from
I
the
haven't
season?
watched anything. I have only watched the first episode of the season. I actually have all the episodes ready to watch.
Yeah, jeez.
You know, well, at least the past ones, the ones that.
Well, there's been some good matches. Daga debuted. Daga from AAA debuted.
And how was that?
He lost to Tejano Jr., which was like, Meltzer got upset about him. Because you know how everybody loses except Cobra Moon in their debut. Everybody who has debuted has lost their debut match. And so Meltzer kind of got upset about it. And I'm like, dude, that was a great match, though. It's like, you can't get upset. He lost to Tejano Jr. It was a really good match. They basically,
somebody on top.
Yeah, they look good in the match. And so then they had the trios match. They had this really good trios. They're having a trios tournament. And Rey Mysterio teamed up with Prince Puma and Dragon Azteca Jr. Really good match against Johnny Mundo, Cage, and Taya. Taya actually didn't fuck it up at all.
That's great.
Which, I mean, for those of you who hate intergender matches, like, I actually didn't have a problem with her. What they did was they had her do a lot of comedy spots and like do interference and just run in double team, do a lot of that stuff. And you gotta give her props for taking that. She got thrown through a table in another match, in a singles match against Cage, like a couple weeks ago.
Yes,
she got thrown through a table. So it's like, give her props for at least doing stuff, like
doing her
thing. And you know, some of the, and I can understand people hating the intergender matches. It's like they've been a little bit. I don't hate them.
They're overdone more than me hating the concept of them.
I think the more we complain about it, the more they're going to do it. So it's like, bother. Don't complain about it. They'll stop doing it. Yeah.
Let's not suggest what they might do. They might get upset.
Well, you know what? Well, you know, season 3, supposedly one of the things that got everybody upset was I don't want to spoiler it, but involved Sexy Star, and everybody got outraged over it. The people who read the spoilers who know about it, they're all outraged. And it's like,
interesting.
It's like I don't really.
I know it's not.
You have to watch. The thing with Lucha Underground is you have to watch the show, because even if that happens, you know it's not going to last. Because that's the one bad thing with. I think that's the one bad thing that when you read about it in the tapings, you think, oh, this guy lost the belt. He just won it and he lost it the following week. But then when you're watching, it's basically a 2 or 3 week span, or like with Matanza, it's going to probably be the entire season that he's going to be a champion, or I don't know how long.
Yes.
I don't know, because I haven't read spoilers. I it's not that I haven't read spoilers, I just don't remember half the stuff that I'm told, so it's like.
and it's just funny, whatever misdirections happen, we're so used to that in wrestling now.
And Matanza, I mean, well, I could did you read about the Matanza injury?
That he put his hand through a window.
They apparently had one window that was fake glass.
Oh my god!
And then they had the one that was real, and he punched the wrong one. But he said it wasn't as bad as they were making it out to be. He's like, he got 5 stitches. I'm fine. He's like, and then Angelico apparently, like, I think he hurt his. I don't know.
I read something.
I don't know, because sometimes I think it's a lot of some of the stuff. It seems like it's worked. So it's like, I don't really want to get too like, oh my god.
You don't want to invest too much in.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Unless one of the wrestlers tells me, like, and even then, there's such bullshit.
Exactly. I don't want to put too much thought in it. I mean, we've been to indie shows where guys are trying to work you on injuries and that kind of thing. I mean, small indie shows.
So it's like,
So, take it with a grain of salt.
The other thing that happened this past week's show, they had a Matanza versus Mil Muertes match. Mm-hmm. It ended with them brawling on the rooftop of Dario Cueto's office.
Oh, yes.
And Mil Muertes did his finisher, the flatliner, and sent them crashing through the rooftop into the office.
Oh, wow.
So that was the finish. So you think that was the finish of the show, right?
Yes.
So no, the finish of the show is, this is what we talked about this earlier. We go back to the part where they go to the police station, and they show a picture of Bale, deceased. So then they have another list that says missing, and in the missing list it's Alberto, Big Rick, Hernandez.
Oh, no way.
Conan, and then there's somebody else. I can't remember who the other person was.
So essentially there's...
Everybody who's no longer
There's a possibly open door since they're missing.
Missing, well, yeah, or they're completely gone for good.
Yeah, but they're not deceased.
Yeah, they're not deceased. Yeah, well, they weren't murdered anyway, so...
But just saying deceased, I like...
No, because in storyline...
I know in storyline.
In storyline, it wouldn't work them as deceased. They're just missing because they left. I don't think Alberto's going back, so it's like... That the odds of him and Hernandez is definitely not... I
still find that amusing.
Yeah. Yeah, so they're doing the chief is there, she's and this councilman shows up to talk to her. The councilman is played by Lorenzo Lamas.
No way.
Of Renegade fame.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh my god. God, I haven't heard his name in eons.
He looks so old. I thought it was Lorenzo Lamas, and I'm like, but he had a beard, and I'm like, is that Lorenzo Lamas? And I was gonna tweet it out. Like,
this is the first time I've heard his name, and I can't remember how long.
Yeah, and I'm like, is that Lorenzo Lamas? And I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to be that guy. Look, it's raining now.
Can you hear that, folks? No choo-choo trains today. But rain.
No truth that it doesn't rain in LA. It is raining today.
It's raining water. Hallelujah.
So he shows up, and I guess he's going to be like a corrupt. I don't know if he's going to be a corrupt councilman or something, but it's just like one of those. It's an interesting little addition to the whole Lucha Underground.
The city of Bell isn't nationally known because remember that the whole city council in Bell was pretty much taken apart. And everybody went to jail.
So it would actually work.
That would be such a great.
It would work for Lucha Underground since it's technically who's going to really Boyle Heights. We're all grouped into the whole LA thing.
It's all Los Angeles, baby.
Yeah, so he's now in the up part of the show, so it's going to be interesting to see what his role will be in this. Although, people are probably going to complain, oh, is he gonna be a part of the... Did you hear about the dark... before that, there was somebody who posted a story about David Arquette, who had supposedly claimed he had pitched an idea to Lucha Underground.
No, I heard
of a wrestling manager called El Borracho.
The drunkard?
The drunk.
Uh-huh.
And supposedly he would be somebody who would be drinking, and like all of a sudden he would use a bottle to like get hit somebody over the head to like cause the disqualification or something. But I think he was thinking like, and apparently they turned it down. Yes. And I was thinking, well, that's kind of a little too old school. Like that's like an old school type of a 1990s type of gimmick that would have been. Well, also it's like horrible to watch.
It's like ever since I was involved in like local indie lucha. In the early 90s.
Yeah, there's been borrachos everywhere.
Yeah. In the audience, in the dressing room, both. No, but when you're talking about a gimmick like that, it's like it was mostly luchadores. So there weren't as many, American style wrestlers doing the hybrid thing back then.
Yeah.
So whenever somebody, come to the scene, if I could have a nickel for every time somebody said, "Okay, Kurt, I got the greatest gimmick for us. Okay, we're going to be called the immigration officer."
Yeah.
And they always seem to be the first person to think
La Migra.
And it's been done for years.
And then you give them the bad news. You do realize there's a luchador named La Migra.
Exactly.
and then there's now a tag team called La Migra. Now there's a trio named Border Patrol.
There was a tag team called La Migra in 1981.
Yeah.
I mean, before that, actually.
Yeah.
I think they were even winding up.
Border Patrol, I think what was the name of Bill? Oh, Mercenarios were the
Mercenarios. Yes. It's a great gimmick, very good heat, but it does amuse you when when American wrestling fans think, oh my God, we're going to do something that's never been done before.
Yeah.
I'm going, sorry, it's been done over and over.
I always hated the State Patrol in WCW. This is going off topic.
Oh.
I just never liked them. Sergeant Buddy Lee Parker or
I
Colonel
agree with you on that one.
I don't know, like, I tried to get into them, but it's like, try to, like, as, like, because in WCW they had a lot of guys who weren't really pushed, that were just, like, mid-card guys or preliminary guys to put over the stars. And there was, like, Mike Jackson, guys like that.
Oh, yes.
And, like, but State Patrol, I never really, like, they never really, like, even when they had, what was the other tag team that was there back then when State Patrol was there? Oh, God. Like Man at Work with Chris Kanyon and Mark Starr.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Those guys, and then there was the Armstrongs would do that type of work too, like to put over guys, Scott and Steve.
Yes.
And it's like State Patrol just never, like, I never really got into them for some reason. And I would think I would be into that sort of thing because it was, State Patrol. It's like,
Yeah, well, and leave it to WCW, even if there was something that
I prefer,
like they would still.
I preferred Buddy Lee Parker's time as the Leprechaun more than
I dug the Leprechaun.
I wasn't a big fan of his work, and then when I found out he was training the guys, I was like, I could see why they're not.
That always puzzled me a bit because I remember hearing.
I would have to rewatch their matches to maybe see that. Maybe I just.
But the Leprechaun, well, you know me. Leprechaun is.
He didn't really wrestle. He just ran around.
I know he just ran around and did run-ins and that kind of thing. I thought that was hysterical.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people didn't like it. I dug it.
Yeah, but it's.
Oh, speaking of that sort of that brand of wrestling, like Titanes in El Ring. I'm not making this up. There is a fellow in Argentina who is going around claiming to be the illegitimate son of Martin Karadagian.
That doesn't surprise me, considering with Lucha, like, remember the emails I used to get about guys claiming to be illegitimate sons of certain wrestlers.
He's going so far as he's bleached his hair.
And got the same haircut?
Yes!
Oh my God.
Yes!
In 2016? How old is this guy?
Probably in his 30s.
Oh my God. What the fuck?
Technically, it's possible, not probable.
You gotta be pretty fucking crazy to get your hair just like Martin Cardi.
Oh, totally. And the funny thing is, when you look at him, his nose, he has that same big schnoz that Martin Karadagian had.
No disrespect to his family.
That's no disrespect.
But the hair was ridiculous. I mean, I was
exactly. And the only reason it worked is because it was him.
Yeah, and it was a gimmick. I mean,
exactly.
It was his hair back in the. I mean, it's 60s and 70s, right?
Yes.
So that was a style that was back then. But I mean, in 2016, to bring that style out, it's
have vanilla taffy bleached blonde hair, that beard and that big nose. His name's Martin Iriarte, if I remember right.
Oh, geez.
But I saw a picture of him on Facebook. I'm like, wait, what's this? And so I started Googling around. I actually found actual news stories of...
Did you ask Paulina about it?
I haven't yet, but I'm going to.
Yeah.
I want to ask her about that.
Like, what's going on with this guy?
I am so curious.
Yeah.
He's somebody who has been involved in the business to some extent.
It doesn't shock me.
Yeah, it never shocks me. We always have...
This whole shocking side of wrestling has basically made Bix a bit of a star among the internet wrestling community. So.
And I always want to give a little
Bix, as in David Bixenspan, for those who don't know.
Bixenspan, the 605 podcast, which he and the great Brian Glass.
The 6-hour podcast that's hard.
The 6-hour podcast, but it isn't. I have to say this: it's a great podcast. They probably do it a little longer.
It's good. I heard 30 minutes of it.
Yeah. It's a very lengthy one, but it is.
I'm not being an asshole or anything.
Oh, I know, totally.
I heard 30 minutes, and it's really good. But I only had 30 minutes because I had to do something else, and it's like, it was.
And the reason I
would like to listen to it, but I mean, you guys doing podcasts, stick to like a 2-hour limit, man. Come on.
Yeah, I second that because I get to listen to the whole thing because where I work right now, at least the chore I'm doing at work, I can listen to podcasts all day long. I can do it while I'm working.
So I take it you've heard the 8.5-hour podcast by Chris Zellner and Dylan Hills?
No. I'm not going to listen to... No. Well, but that's the thing is, I would not listen to a really lengthy podcast if it wasn't really good. And this one is good. But
Chris's is good too.
But say if
Chris is good. It's just really long.
Yeah, exactly. And they have a lot of variety in it.
Here we go, getting into trouble. We just
No, I'm totally praising them. But if I were transferred where I had to work, say, with the public all day and couldn't listen to podcasts, I just wouldn't have the time.
Yeah.
And that would frustrate me because this is great stuff. I highly recommend this podcast.
If I was like 10, 15 years ago and you told me to listen to these podcasts, I would be in cloud 9.
Yes.
Because I was in that time period where I really wanted to know about wrestling and all stuff. But then since a lot of the stuff they talk about I already know about, there's not really going to be these are great for fans who are trying to like remember stuff and or maybe miss that stuff or learning stuff that they didn't know. I mean, I grew up watching a lot of American wrestling, a lot of lucha, and a lot of Japanese wrestling. So it's kind of like there's not going to be a lot for me to like. Although Bix and Chris have had shows where I'm surprised of stuff that they reveal that I didn't even know about.
Yeah,
I love Chris's podcast where he did the UWF stuff. Mm-hmm. That's still one of my the Watts UWF show. That's probably the only 4-hour podcast I've listened to.
Oh wow! I just
can't listen to the 4. I just don't.
No, one of the first podcasts I ever listened to was before. We're still being mesmerized by the rain because it rains so rarely these days. Like that movie Dune.
Yeah, I know. It's like
rain's coming down, and we're like, hallelujah!
It was really windy earlier, so.
But the first podcast, aside from the Figure 4 podcasts, was me. I used to be really into zombie movies, but they made so many of them now that.
Yeah, it's like why?
But there's this great podcast called Mail Order Zombie, and it was I can't remember how often they did it, but it was a good 2-hour podcast at least, and it was the husband and wife who did it. It was really entertaining, really good, and it got so popular that they upped it to 3 hours, and then they started having little like subcategory shows.
Yeah.
And before I knew it, I kind of said, "Whoa, this is like 6 hours a week of stuff," and as much as I love zombies. I don't want to invest that much time. I just stopped listening to it.
See, I would do podcasts like that if I could figure out how to make money doing it.
Yes,
which I haven't to this day. So it's like I don't really, and I don't have the time to do it either. But
whoever can do that,
like MLW does that and stuff like that.
Yes.
Meltzer, the Observer, does that. So it's like I don't see the point in doing that many podcasts. If it's something that you're just doing for free, just for fun.
If you're doing it for fun,
so it's
cool.
It's like 2-hour podcast every so often. Like when people tell me, "Hey, why aren't you doing a podcast?" It's like we're just doing the Thunders.
Ooh.
That'd be funny. Well, you're holding the recorder and you get shocked off of it.
My hair stands up on end. Yeah. I have the afro I had when I was 17. Yeah, well, in fact, I remember.
This is the only thing I've noticed. I think we're the only ones that do podcasts where you hear all the thunderstorms, trains, babies crying, people talking in the background.
Imagine if we had a video setup, we could have umbrellas and stuff, and but it's because I even remember Jeff Walton asking us when he's at one of the Simi Valley shows, like, how do you guys make money on this? And I said, we're just doing this for giggles. We're just having fun doing this. We're not,
I don't even plug stuff I do, like the shirts and stuff like that. I never plug anything. I don't plug anything. It's like I forget all the time because I figure people are going to visit the website. They're going to see it there. I don't really see. I'm not that type. I'm like.
I forget too.
I'm like just do whatever you want. I don't give a fuck.
In fact, earlier today I thought about I got to mention the 605 podcast, and I forgot about it till it came up.
Right now. You were going to mention it.
And on that note too, if you
you got to mention the great Brian Last because he got into a whole heated discussion with Lance Storm over.
Oh my god! And yes, I
over Chris Jericho's chest where Brian Last is the co-host with Jim Cornette, and he made a comment about Chris Jericho's chest looking kind of weird, and Lance Storm got very annoyed about it, and got very upset at him, took shots at him. So then Brian Last comes back and decides to call him cunty.
That's Storm. Right, I saw that. That's right.
And I was just laughing. And this was before Lance Storm did even the stupidest thing he's done. Okay, when people pass away, you never like we've done shows where people pass away, and there's been people who have died who were the most part in wrestling, that I think the majority of people who have died in wrestling, I don't think I've known personally. I think there's been a few that have died where you've known them, and maybe you might have said, "Hey, yeah, he did something like." Oh well, the time we did the Red Bastien comment, and we made the comment about him. We told the story of Superboy. The Superboy stuff, which it wasn't even that, and we got kind of caught. We got some flack from a couple of people over it.
Here's the thing. Also when Vern Langdon from Slammers passed away, I was pretty frank about how I felt about him. I wasn't trying to bury him, but I wasn't gonna go People magazine and try to. And
you didn't say anything bad about it. You just said something about what had happened, and
I think
it was Slamistan, right? When we did this,
it was when we did Slamistan, and I was saying I didn't like the way he operated, and I thought he took advantage of people, which is true. I didn't hate him. Now,
but you also didn't have a friendship with him. It wasn't like that. So it wasn't like you were.
I knew him for a short time.
Yeah. But. So Lance Storm, Balls Mahoney passes away. Lance Storm writes. He writes this thing where it's like, sorry to report that that Balls Mahoney passed away. I wasn't very close to him, even though Balls may have thought that we were friends. And then he just continues on and on about how he found Balls Mahoney was a really nice guy, but he was very loud, and he liked to ask me how I was doing. And I was like, too friendly.
How unusual! Yes, how unusual to ask somebody how they're doing.
So he's like, and then he would tell me all how he was doing, and I'm like, oh, Lance, he's having a conversation with you. Wow. So Lance Storm's like, and I didn't like that. So it's like, so then Lance Storm blames it on introverts, and I'm like, dude. It's like, don't blame it on introverts.
Just don't say anything at all.
Yes. I'm like, first of all, I'm probably kind of a borderline introvert the way I am. You're kind of outgoing.
Yes, I am.
I've never said you're annoying or, I can't believe Kurt asked me how I'm doing. What an asshole. It's like, dude,
how many people do I ask how they're doing?
Yes.
And how many people ask me that? That's just part of like
life.
That's bizarre.
Yeah, so then he writes at the very end, he's like, it's sad. He talks about how him and Chris Candido feuded with Balls and Axel and ECW, and he's talking about, well, I lost a friend, I lost somebody, I think somebody he respected or something, and a guy who I really didn't like, but I had many matches against. I was like,
and maybe this might make more clarity to the situation. It would make sense if Balls Mahoney was somebody who had ripped a bunch of people off. Something horrible. You mentioned it then, like, I don't like... But it's almost like sounds like he had these quirks, the way Lance Storm saw it, that why bring him up at all? It's not like he was...
Like, if he had a drug problem and Lance had a problem with that, hey, I could understand that.
Yes.
But he had a problem with him because he was nice.
That is so bizarre.
I was like, he was nice.
So
I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? It's like, that just cracked me up.
Oh, God.
So we went to a couple of recent shows. We should talk about it.
Well, of course, we went to the show where we met and talked with both Mascara Dorada and Oriental. Did a lengthy interview with Oriental
that I haven't even translated,
which you're going to be posting on LuchaWorld tonight, right?
No,
the whole transcript tonight.
I'll translate it this week for sure.
But all joking aside, that was a really fun conversation.
Well, it wasn't even like I was saying. It wasn't even an interview. We started off as a conversation and it just continued. Like I was like, "Hey, you want to do an interview?" And it just kept on going as a conversation.
Oriental was a really nice guy.
Really nice guy. Very friendly. He was very happy to hear that we asked about his sisters.
Yes.
Rosie, Esther, Alda, and Cynthia Moreno.
Who was one of my favorite baby faces when she was in All Japan.
Yeah, and he was very happy to hear about that. He kind of... I was pretty bummed out when I told him, I was like, hey, so what do you think of Seppiin being involved with the full promotion? Because he was at that he was at that press conference, and he was like... And as soon as I said it, he was like, "Oh, I hated it," and I was like, "Oh." So I was like, all of a sudden, my whole conversation kind of. Although he was very easy to talk to, so it was like it wasn't that bad of a.
Yeah, I would say, I say most.
I would say
most major players have been approachable, but I'd say he is one of the most approachable.
I would think him and Negro Navarro were really the easiest guys that we've talked to.
Yeah, I agree.
All the guys.
I agree. Casas,
Volador Jr. Actually, all of the guys I think Master Dorado might have been like the hardest one. Like,
but it is funny how Oriental we didn't really we were just kind of shaking his hand.
And And we didn't even ask for an interview. We just started. I just told him, "Hey, dude, I didn't even know what are you doing here." And he was like, "I'm the Luchador Sorpresa." And I was like, "Oh." It's like, "You want to do an interview?" Sure.
And he was in town visiting family. Right?
Yeah, he had family. Yeah. That'll be in the interview. Like that's cool. That's the whole thing. Like,
yeah, and no, all joking aside, again, I am looking forward to reading it.
Yeah.
I know it's a hassle doing long transcripts, but when I was hearing you guys converse, I can pick up little bits and pieces.
And that's
going to be awesome.
And that's the thing. Like when I see other people do interviews, you could go like kind of prepared with who you're going to interview because that person's there, or you're scheduling the interview with that person. But like Oriental was basically somebody we had no idea he was on the show until I saw him there, and I was like, "Hey, isn't that El Oriental?" And you're like, you didn't know who it was anyway. Like, I think you saw his mask afterwards. Like, oh, I think it is.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, but before that, you hadn't, because I saw him without the mask. I was like, I think that's Oriental. And then he wore the mask. Like, yeah, I think it is him. And then when we saw him afterwards, that's when we started talking and everything.
Yes.
But it's like I didn't have a plan of questions that I was going to ask him or anything. I think there was so much stuff like when he told me that he had been in AAA for 15 years, I was like, "Oh shit, that's right, you were in AAA for like 15 years." It's like if you hear the interview, I was more excited because I was like, "Oh, you were in CMLL." I was like, "Oh yeah, that's right, you weren't in CMLL for that. You were there for like maybe 5 years, but it was AAA was."
But it's interesting. That is what you remember.
Yeah, and he was saying there's a lot of people who remember him more because of that than anything else. And then we saw Little Cholo at that show. We saw Dr. Wagner Jr. We actually only saw one match. And I actually saw half of another match because I had to film the match because you backed out. You chickened out.
That's right. Because Hector Canales wanting some footage.
Yes.
And I am backwards when it comes to modern day technology, so I knew I was going to screw it up.
And apparently you didn't have to be the only one that would screw it up.
But you didn't screw it up. He had his...
he had an iPad to film his match. But he didn't want the match. He's doing like something for YouTube. Like he's trying to do some video for YouTube. So I was able to get the entrance, half the match, and then his iPad stops recording and it tells me that it's full. The storage, like the video is full.
Yes.
And so I end up spending half the time trying to get it, like pretending to look like I'm trying to get it to work. So you see me in this match going to him, putting the iPad in front of him, saying it's not recording. So his match. At one point, he's getting choked out, and that's what when we went to do the Oriental interview, we had just talked to Hector, and we were just laughing about how I went over and I go, "Hey, it's not recording," and he's like getting choked by I think it's Diablo Roquero Diabolico or something like that, and he's like, "Press record," and I was like, it's not recording. So I stay there for a while, and I'm thinking, do I stay here, just stand there acting like I'm recording, or do I just go back and just end?
It was full.
So then we see Zachary.
Yes, our good friend Zachary.
At the FPW show, and he's like, "What happened to the iPad? I noticed you were having trouble with it." And I was like, "It stopped recording." And I was like,
"Zachary is great."
Yes.
I love Zach. I love the way he can catch these little things that probably no one else in the arena is picking up.
Yeah, so you just
these little idiosyncrasies.
I was like, do I stand there the whole time? And I'm like, because I'm blocking people's view the whole time. So like, do I do this or do I? Do I just leave? I was like, I'm just.
No, you did it right.
Yeah,
and you got what he wanted.
Yeah, and then you finished.
And Hector's such a nice guy. He was.
And anybody else, I probably would have said no. He's a cool guy. Actually, him and Piloto would probably be the only two guys I would probably do something for because they've always helped us out.
Yeah, they've always been really nice.
Actually, and Superboy's family, of course.
And speaking of which,
Superboy show, that was really good.
Yeah, he's back in the promoting game again, which we're happy of. I thought this was the best show he's promoted.
Really? Yeah, because the opener was really good.
Yeah, Rocket Boy Wilson and was it Tony Suarez?
I think it was Donnie Suarez.
Donnie Suarez.
Yeah.
A really solid opener.
Yeah.
Very good. I've been hearing a lot about Rocket Boy. This is the first time I saw him.
He was like at a show like a couple of weeks, like one of the shows that we went to last year, I think.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
I was laughing because...
Last year, first show we went to was the Masquerada show this year, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
It's been months since we've been to a show.
Yeah. I think he was at the Volador. I think he was on the Volador Jr. show. He was like in the opener or something.
I was laughing because years ago when Dan Farron and Larry Doyle were still promoting Cal International, we did a wrestling show at the Mondo Video shop in Los Feliz district. And we had it in their back parking lot where I think legally we were not supposed to be doing it.
Yeah, it's lucha though.
But these guys, exactly. And these guys at Montevideo, they were a couple of wild men, and they said, we have a guy who wants to be a manager. And I went, well, you guys are kind of sponsoring it, so why not? And there's this guy called Rocket Boy who was this guy who was a bit of a space cadet.
Well, this Rocket Boy, Rocket Boy looks like he could go places.
Yeah, he does. And actually, I like that other Rocket Boy, but I was just kind of like, whoa, there's a difference between this Rocket Boy and the Rocket Boy.
I was impressed with the TJ guys in the main event. Starboy and TJ Boy, I think, were the two.
That was
guys.
interesting.
They were actually, although the match before that was the better one. I think it was the one with Superboy's kids.
That was the best,
Superboy Jr., Indu Jr.,
What was the third one? Because I know, of course, Legacy.
Legacy was on their
the
side.
youngest Superboy fan.
I thought that was like the best.
That was a really solid match. Actually, the show was constructed well. The opener was nice. The second match was a match made clearly to book an angle involving our old friend Frankie D.
Yeah, he was there.
Be putting up his hair on May 8th. Against Piolín.
Mr. Piolín.
Mr. Piolín.
Don't get it. Don't call him
That's
Piolín.
right.
Mr. Piolín.
Sir Piolín.
Sir Piolín.
Yes. It'll be a hair versus hair, the two of them, May 8th at the arena in East L.A., right?
Is it going to be the Cleila Avenue?
Yeah, Cleila Avenue. In fact, we'll probably do a podcast before that so we can...
Or are we going to that show? I like how you tell me that moment. Oh yeah, we're going to that show. Or we're not. You don't know yet. We were going to go to this past. Actually, we didn't decide if we were going to go this past Saturday.
We weren't totally. Yeah, but wasn't.
Yeah, because it was the one we did want to go was Mascara Dorada. That was the one that we had actually you had said, I'm going to that. I figured the only other guy that I would really want to go see, and I'm sure you would too, is Carbonarius.
Oh man, yeah.
And if Casas or one of those,
I would do anything I could to clear my schedule to see Carbonario. I mean, just to see him live would be awesome.
When was that show that we went to?
The Superboy one?
Yeah.
It
was last week, right?
Yes.
And let me look it up.
It was, I think, April 17th or 19th. I think the 17th.
I know, it's like I don't know these dates because everything's always going on.
I guess we should write these down beforehand.
Yeah, we should write these down. Actually, I wrote everything else down except that.
Yeah, but it was a solidly book show. I do think it was one.
Well, I know people that went to the show because this past Saturday UIPW show had Okumura, Fujin, Reijin, and people were really liking that show. They really liked that show.
Very cool. And that was UIPW, yes.
Yeah. Was it 418? What was 418?
That sounds right. Whatever the Sunday was around that time.
417. Yeah, 417. Yeah, here it is. I got it. It was the third match. It was Superboy Jr., Principe Indu Jr., Kid Tornado versus Legacy, Mercurio Jr., and Seiya. Seiya from Mexico. Yeah, that was the third match because the fourth match had the Profeta Jr. Romeo little discussion, remember?
Yes.
With that guy, and did you figure that out with the dude that got his haircut?
I never got that.
How? Look at it. When we did the hair bet with Dr. Lucha, Dr. Lucha was a pro. He went and bought the razor, he bought the scissors, he bought the set.
Yes.
He bought to get his head shaved at that show.
Yes.
These guys didn't have that. They had scissors, and the guy had short hair.
That is so bizarre.
At least Dr. Lucha let his hair grow long.
Yeah.
He had a kind of so he went I think if we would have just done scissors, it would have been fine. Mm-hmm. But this dude they used scissors and they could barely get I think they got a couple of rows in there. Made him look kind of weird, but it's I would have shaved it all. I mean, come on, if that's what you're gonna do.
Some other stipulation where somebody can be humiliated by losing the match or by.
Oh, Mysterioso Jr. was on that show too.
That's right. Yes.
So we said hi to him.
Yes.
Backstage, we didn't even know he was him. Yeah, because he wasn't wearing a mask. Yeah, but he was very friendly. He was very nice. Hey, how's it going?
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
So
should have interviewed him if I had known it was Mr. We should have asked him. So
we should
why are you called the Ray of the King of Yogurt? Ray the Yogurt.
We should just go before each show and just ask each person, are you anybody special?
Yes,
How about you?
Well, that time we interviewed Volador Jr., remember we were trying to get Mephisto, and the guys were coming out of the locker room. The I think one of the referees and a couple of the wrestlers and Superboy's kids were coming out, and they're like, "Oh, Mephisto's here," and I'm like, "Oh, really? You think you guys could go ask him if we could interview him?" And they're like, we can't. And we're like, why not? We don't know which one is Mephisto. I was like, we know he's here,
that's
but we can't tell.
To know we're not the only ones.
And I was just laughing. I was like, well, Mascara Dorada, I knew who it was right away because he was wearing his trunks. And
you've actually got a pretty, but you've also got a better track record than I do about seeing, like
Ray Horace.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, also Sombra.
A
few years ago,
long before we even interviewed.
You said that guy over there. I bet that's Sombra. And you were right.
And it was just based off him the way he walked.
Yeah,
the way he walked, because that's the way he walks.
Was pretty good.
Yeah, and then now that you see him, he has the full beard, because he had the full beard then too.
Yes.
But he just had a cap covering his face and stuff like that. So what was I gonna say? Well, we were talking about the Unmasked Mysterious Jr. Yeah, that was a good show, but what else did you want to talk about? Anything else? Anything else going on?
I think that pretty much winds it up. And in fact, I guess since we're talking about not letting podcasts go too long, it might be a good place to drop off, unless there's any drop off. That's sounding.
This is like this
wind up.
This is a worse ending than the show I did by myself.
Yeah, well, I try to outdo you. If you do something bad, I'm going to do it worse.
I did. I was all happy with the middle part of that podcast. I would say it was like an hour-long podcast. I was okay with the 50 minutes of it, and then the final 5 minutes, oh shit, what am I going to end the show with?
Well then, okay. That said, I'll tell you.
Oh, Dragon Lee's hurt. He's not wrestling this week.
Oh, how badly hurt?
Knee injury, strained knee.
Ooh, oh.
He's out. There's some people who think that he might be because he said he's got surprises this year. Mm-hmm. So some people seem to think that's going to be him working the Super Juniors for New Japan.
Oh.
That's what everybody assumes.
So maybe that would be awesome.
Thunder. Thunder, and it's not thunder.
Oh.
This
is the good kind
of thunder. This is the good thunder.
Loud kind of thunder.
That's what and Kamaitachi is in Mexico anymore. He's in New Jersey.
Huh?
He's working shows in the U.S. He's accepting bookings.
Oh,
U.S. bookings. Yeah, that's interesting because everybody assumed he was going to New Japan.
But no talk about
going to New Japan. No talk about if he's going to be in WWE, maybe for that global cruiserweight tournament.
Oh.
Ring of Honor is involved with the New Japan. Maybe he's going to join them.
Very good.
It's kind of weird. His situation's kind of weird. I think maybe he kind of quit. Maybe he gave up on New Japan. I'm going to do my own thing.
Try my luck elsewhere.
Yeah.
Just try to...
Just seems weird. He just seems kind of strange.
That does seem odd.
Yeah.
The real reason I want to buy the podcast is
because of the thunder you got.
Well, no. I want to go home and I want to buy Photoshop so I can take the pictures of Vandal Drummond in his hippie gear, and I want to Photoshop it in with Kelly family photos. I want to see if I can pass myself as a member of the Kelly family.
I thought you were gonna Photoshop that hair. The Martin hair onto your head.
The Martin Cardigan hair.
I should have said that because Dan Farron's gonna try to do that.
Oh my God! Well, I do have to. I think I will email Paulina and see if she has any.
That's
comment.
Just weird.
It is strange. It's because every now and then on YouTube I'll see if there's anything new, any old history of Titanis in a ring.
Yeah.
Once in a while some little tidbit pops up. But this is the strangest one I've ever come across.
So what matches do you recommend we watch? Volador versus
Caristico. You're going to...
Oh, Carbonario, Barbaca versus Mount. Actually, this week, Mascara Dorada versus Mephisto again. I think there's something else that's going to be good. Nero Casas wrestled Hechicero yesterday.
No way!
In Monterrey.
Is it...
Maybe.
Oh, I want to see that.
Maybe.
And I have to say, this is even doubly... confusing to you, I'm sure, but I actually watched the Volador Caristico match twice.
Wow,
that's how much I liked it.
You could have been watching something else and
I know, but I really I just enjoyed both their work, but especially Volador.
The trouble right now with I noticed when Cubs fan posts his videos, it's I always think, did I already watch all this stuff? Because there's so much CML that airs live.
Yes.
And then there's tape. And it's like, oh man, I don't remember if I watched this. Although now I haven't been watching like. Probably won't. I don't think I'm gonna watch Puebla tonight. So.
It's weird.
Yeah.
This is the most wrestling I've watched in a while.
Yeah.
I'm starting to feel foreign.
You still haven't watched Lucha Underground?
No, I haven't.
And there's a lot of good stuff on there.
Well, until next time, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you're enjoying yourselves, and I'm gonna come up with an even worse ending. Hope you're having a super terrific kind of afternoon.
See you real soon.
And until next time, may the right hemisphere of the brain short circuit the left hemisphere short circuit the right hemisphere, and bing! You're there. Fredo, I actually got through it without totally screwing it up. See you next week, folks.